So when you convert, that's obviously they're into it, they're into the campaign, they like what you're doing, and they've invested. From here, though, you still want to nurture that investment. We often see many times that there are high investors that come in and will reinvest within a campaign a second time around, a third time around. So you don't want to just kind of let those investors fall off.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to DNA's August webinar, Transforming Investor Interests into Lasting Commitments. The question that we get asked, that we're posed with constantly from issuers, founders who are issuing shares, typically under Reg CF, the Regulation A Plus, or their Reg D capital formation, capital raise campaigns. Reg CF and Reg A Plus, retail and accredited investors, up to 5 million on Reg CF, up to 75 million on Regulation A Plus. Reg D, accredited investor only. You know, we always hear, hey, I have all these investors interested. They're part of my first degree network. They're people I've been working for a while. We're targeting audiences and bringing them to our existing offering page, but it's not converting. We're going to speak with you about that obstacle today. We've worked on over 400 campaigns that have collectively produced 9 figures of capital. Have worked with cryptocurrency apps where we've brought in billions in terms of assets under management. We've seen things work. We've seen marketing tactics produce nothing. Learned more from the latter. And here to share those findings, share those results with you. We're working on some of I believe, the top moving Regulation A Plus campaign of August, some of the top Reg CF campaigns. That's what's behind all our recommendations. It's not just fun philosophies we came up with while hanging out at the park. It's based on physical data, physical numbers that can't be disputed. I'm joined here by Ashley Inman and Nicky Cheung, some of the thought leaders, the top minds in the space. Yes, they're on our team. Yes, they've worked on many of our top campaigns to date. Nicky manages these ad campaigns directly, producing millions a month, in many cases, millions a week, millions a day, in terms of capital from these initiatives. He's very good at what he does. Ashley, she is a content marketer who manages social media, email, long-form content, including webinars, articles, videos, presentations like this, with, again, some of the top founders in the space who are, safe to say, serial entrepreneurs. They've had many startups, many exits, gets to manage those conversations when they're working, when they're not, and be able to manage them to a point of effectiveness. Also serving as a campaign quarterback and taking, campaigns from zero to their full goal. Ashley, Nicky, you guys excited? You ready to talk about converting investors?
Very excited. Happy to.
Yes, I'm excited. Let's go. Let's do it.
And I don't know if I went full enough into your backgrounds. Nicky, if you want to tell a little bit more about yourself, what you like to do on the weekends, while I'm pulling up the deck here, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of fun over weekends, just hang with family, I love playing basketball. So yeah, that's like one of my things. But yeah, just like me in general, I've been doing equity crowdfunding for pretty much like 3 years now. Worked on hundreds of campaigns, seen a lot of things work, seen things fail. Definitely learned a lot over these past few years. So yeah, I'm excited to share some of that with you. Yeah, Ashley, you want to say anything about yourself? Anything fun?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, on the weekends, love to, it's summer, so you got to lay out at the beach. We're in LA over here, so it's super nice. But yeah, same with Nicky. I've been with DNA for about 3 years, working on a lot of equity crowdfunding campaigns for 3 years in a lot of different industries. I've seen some amazing successful campaigns, some ones that are a little bit more difficult. So a lot of trials and tribulations, but it's been a fun ride. Excited to share some experience with everybody today.
I was mostly joking about what you like to do on the weekends part, and you guys dove in. I feel like the audience understands you more now because of that. My love languages are snowboarding, golf, food, travel, but mostly marketing. I woke up today and watched videos on creative. This is what we love to do. Look at our headshots, the same as we look today. Sometimes you look at profiles and it's like a 20-year-old picture, not us. Digital marketing for equity crowdfunding, startups, strategy, advertising, content marketing. That's how we're able to put those numbers on the board. These digital offerings, digital allows for scale. These are the tactics towards it. They build off traditional methodologies, but it's all about the traffic numbers, the projections, the goals, how many times you're following up with somebody, letting the analytics tell you what to do. That's a bit of understanding the investor journey from my side. What do you guys define as the investor journey? And what does the audience today need to know about what that digital funnel, that process, taking audiences from awareness, consideration, intent, conversion, repeat conversion, advocacy, what does that look like for these capital raise campaigns?
Yeah, so the investor journey coming from a paid social perspective is really how you get these prospects, these potential investors down that investor journey. It's the awareness, the intent, and then the conversion finally. But there's a lot of steps in the middle to get these potential investors down that funnel. Mainly, with advertising, retargeting. Building on that retargeting pool is huge. How we do cold prospecting, what types of ads work, what we've seen that hasn't worked. Those are all a part of the marketing funnel. And, I think nowadays, especially nowadays, back then you can uh, run some Facebook ads, maybe do a little bit of content, things work out. But nowadays, we have to be heavy on both paid social and organic because it has to be a full funnel, full omni-channel approach to get some of these campaigns to work.
And retargeting, just to fill in, is running ads to people who've already been to the offering page. Ashley, did Nicky hit all the points there? Anything you want to add to the content side of the investor journey?
Yeah, the same is pretty similar for the investor journey as well, but just obviously more geared towards content. So building that sense of awareness, that's with updates on your portal page, with emails, social posts, all that different type of stuff, and then kind of figuring out the investor interest and working your way down the funnel from there. So same thing with content.
And it's typically 7 touch points or more before an investor converts. That's talking about retail. That may be before they fill out a form for an accredited investor Reg D campaign. Those folks are hit with a lot more deal flow. So, I mentioned the funnel a little bit. What are the key stages of the investor journey? I'm trying to look behind my camera to read off the screen here, but that is awareness, intent, conversion, kind of like what I did with my little hand gesture thing for the funnel. Investors are just starting to find out about the investment at that stage. The opportunity, learning about the brand. This is when you're first reaching them. Intent. This is when they're saying, I would like to invest in an AI startup or this company that is solving some of the biggest issues in, these third world countries. Or, hey, there's, growth occurring in automated retail. I would like this deal looks good. I think I'm going to do it. Today's whole focus is talking about how to get those people to actually put funds forth, because there's a delay. So it looks like there's my video right now. There is a delay from when somebody actually says they want to invest and when they do. And I would say most people who've raised capital offline would agree with that. I would say anyone who's raised capital digitally, outside of a few campaigns that closed immediately from existing audiences, would be able to point that out. So the middle stage where investors are following the campaign, looking at updates and signing up for emails, telling themselves they're going to invest, but you're just not seeing it show up yet. The dollars are not in the bank, as they would say. And then conversion, the final stage where investors make the decision to invest. Nicky, I'm going to skip you on this page. You talked about retargeting. You talked about ads that can show up and how the creative can be different to audiences based on each stage of the funnel. The funnel is not just a cute little story or an excuse on why people aren't converting. It's to demonstrate where audiences are and create messaging visuals that make more sense for them. What you're talking about to people at the awareness stage is going to be different than what is screamed at them during the intent stage with retargeting, those ads that are showing up to them daily. They feel like they're following you around, don't they? It's going to be different. Ashley, I'm curious to hear what you have to say. How does this differ? What does the content look like for prospects at the awareness stage versus the intent? What does it look like after they convert and we want to leverage their voice and get peer-to-peer marketing going? How does content marketing differ at each stage of the funnel?
Yeah, definitely. So awareness is for sure the top of the funnel. So this is people who see an organic post, they visited your campaign page in some way, they've maybe seen an email, somehow they've come across your business and your equity crowdfunding campaign. So this is just the very beginning touch point for them. And then from there, your goal is to then build into intent. So, of course, you want to build in that awareness and kind of get people interested in the campaign. You know, they want to learn more. And then that's where they go into the intent, which is what is the middle of the funnel of the campaign. So, the intent is when somebody has obviously opened up the emails and they've, you know, clicked through, they've seen that ad, then you're going to kind of go in and you're going to target them a little bit more. I always like to say in the intent stage, you want to make sure that you're not shifting everything completely towards invest, invest, invest. You want to make this stage very informative. Why is this beneficial for an investor to come in on the campaign? You know, what exactly could they see from a growth perspective? What's happening within your business on a day-to-day basis? Are there new team members? Are there new, you know, product launches? Things like that are important to relay. You don't want to just constantly be pushing out all of this social content, email content, all of that type of stuff, just basically saying, hey, come invest in our campaign and do the research for yourself. So what I typically say is in the intent stage, that middle of the funnel, this is your opportunity to break down the campaign into bits and pieces. So you can kind of, I always use the campaign page as a reference point, break it down into like problem and solution, you know, what's the market opportunity, do a whole entire meet the team content piece, make everything just very broken down so people don't have to go to the campaign page and lose that sense of interest once they get there if there's too much information coming at them at once. So obviously when they're in the middle of the funnel, they've shown that sense of interest. So you have the ability to kind of focus less on like invest, 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 which you would kind of do at the top of the funnel. And then obviously the bottom of the funnel as well. But you can kind of work on converting them and based on what interest they have. And then from there, we have the conversion. So when you convert, that's obviously they're into it, they're into the campaign, they like what you're doing and they've invested. From here though, you still want to nurture that investment. We often see many times that there are high investors that come in and will reinvest within a campaign a second time around, a third time around. So you don't want to just kind of let those investors fall off. You're still kind of like doing the updates. Of course, they're still going to receive emails and campaign updates and all of that type of stuff, but maybe do like a one-on-one call with them. What else could we do? What would you want to see that you would want to come in and invest again a second time around? How could we, you know, work on this campaign to where you would want to share this with your community as an investor? So doing that bottom of the funnel work is important as well.
Yeah, and I actually want to add in quickly with what Ashley said. The intent stage is where we see people linger the most. That is the most difficult part of the funnel, really. Keeping the people, prospects engaged is the key to getting people to eventually convert, right? We don't want to be mid-funnel and see people, you know, drop out of funnel. It's possible that there are people who become disengaged and or become less interested in investing because you're telling them to invest every single day, right? They're seeing an ad, they're getting organic content on their feed, they're getting emails like every other day. You know, we don't want that to happen. We don't want to push that investment too hard. That's often off-putting for people. So at the end of the day, the ads, the organic emails should keep engagement, not necessarily push the investment too hard. That's not to say don't, but at the end of the day, you want to keep them engaged, have fun content, not just talk about, you know, the campaign all the time. And yeah, we want them to stay within that funnel and keep them engaged, even if they're not investing at this point. We want them to eventually invest, at least keep them in that funnel and keep retargeting them. The key to successful paid social advertising for any equity crowdfunding campaign is good retargeting.
I can't believe I almost cut you out on that page, Nikki. Brilliant. Ashley, amazing. I would say we're done here, but we're just scratching the surface. We're just getting into the deck. But if I watched a piece of content and that was all there was to it, there are so many insights that can be applied there. And this is the focus of digital marketing for capital raising. The conversion rate is the single most important metric. Nikki, a media buyer, can drive all the traffic in the world to an offering page. If that offering page, if the investor journey, if the content marketing is not converting those audiences, it means nothing. Our clients don't care about clicks. They don't care about click-through rate anywhere near the amount they care about investments, conversions. And if you notice, a lot of what we're discussing here has its offline comparison, right? Nikki said, hey, it can be off-putting What a great, eloquent way to put it. It can be off-putting to hit the same investors with the same information and the same follow-ups again and again and again and again, especially from the same source. If they're reading it from different sources every day, it could be a bit different. It could have an adverse effect. Top marketers would say, hey, every brand is now a media publisher, including brands that are raising capital. You need to put out something new, something exciting, something that is headline worthy weekly. Otherwise, who cares? Your audience is going to get bored. You're asking me for money 2 months ago. You need capital. Yeah, we get it. Done. Meanwhile, I want investors to feel like they're missing out. I want investors to feel like if they don't get involved now, it's just capital that could have been produced more for them. So how can we effectively segment the right individuals? How can we, segment your list to create optimized messaging and content? Nicky, do you want to talk about this in terms of targeting and what you like to structure into media buying accounts?
Absolutely. So all these people are a part of that retargeting audience that we always talk about. But there are different ways to segment it. And mostly these are segmented into people who've been to the page, people who have added to cart, people who have initiated checkout. And none of these people have have completed their investment. The final one here are people who have completed their investment, which we can continue to target and nurture. And I think this people, this segment, people who've completed investment are a lot more valuable towards the end of the campaign when, you're closing and then people are considering putting more money into the campaign, reinvesting. But let's start from the top. People who have added to cart but haven't started the investment process, those are people who have for warm audiences, right? They've shown interest, they're already starting their investment. So how can we get these people to eventually invest, right? Retarget ads that show social proof are key to this audience, right? Milestones, updates. If you're hitting milestones, if let's say you just raised another 200 grand, right? And you're at a $500,000 raise, people want to know that, people want to see that. They might not necessarily always keep updated with your campaign, but if they see an ad and they're, oh wow, these guys were just, at like 300K 2 months ago, boom, now you've made progress. You cannot crowdfund without a crowd, right? So you need those people, you need that momentum to really build off the campaign. And then it'll just go from there, 500 becomes 700, 700 becomes a million. That's how we see a lot of crowdfunding campaigns work. Those who have initiated checkout, these people who, start their investment, they've probably submitted some of their information already. They're kind of grouped segments. But these are people who are ready to put in their investment already. Like this is again more retargeting and really how we do organic marketing and email marketing to get these people through. And some of these people, we've seen some ads that prompt people to book a call with the founder, and those have worked well. These are people who maybe have a couple questions to ask the founder before they put in their investment. We've seen people book calls and then put in investment. Webinar ads work great, and webinars as well for these people who are about to invest, even for people who've added to cart. Maybe they want to see webinar, they had a couple questions again that they want to ask. Those are great ways to engage your audience and get a conversation flowing.
And then you can scale up campaigns that are producing more. So if you see, hey, ads to people who've initiated checkout are actually producing more conversions than people who have submitted their information or people who have added to cart. And I think that one would be self-explanatory, but you could follow the analytics and understand, hey, spends, creative messaging that Ashley and the team are working on at this stage of the funnel actually gets people to jump to conversion. You could do a lot more from that. Ashley, can you talk a bit about content marketing strategy? I know this gets back to the funnel a little bit, but you talk to a new founder tomorrow. They're doing a kickoff call. We're doing a lot of kickoffs here in August. This is when issuers start moving things to get into the end of the year. And they say, hey, I'm trying to get these investors in. They're not quite coming in. Also, I want to use you guys for advertising, but there's going to be, a higher conversion rate if there's a good content marketing strategy put in place. How do you describe what content marketing is and how it results in a stronger conversion rate?
So, as we've said before, it takes 7 to 17 touch points to get an investor to kind of really resonate with a campaign and then convert. So, I feel like content is just another way to have multiple touch points. You're not so reliant on one thing. Of course, ads is a huge, huge one. So it's extremely helpful for the content perspective. But the content allows us to have multiple touch points, the campaign updates, the emails, blog posts, doing webinars, social posts. There's so many different avenues that people can see what's going on and really learn and want to get to invest. I would say, from my perspective, too, as if you're kind of limited, because that is a lot when you're trying to build out content, there's a lot to track, a lot to build and create. If you're going to focus on three key things, campaign updates for sure, current investors, potential investors, anybody even slightly interested is going to go to your campaign page, and they're more than likely going to go to the update section and see what the latest news is and what's going on. So make sure that that is constantly updated. From there, I feel like emails is extremely important as well. I hear more often than not that there's some sense of like reservation from people that they don't want to send out emails because they're concerned, like, oh, my list is going to unsubscribe, or, this isn't really like what they're interested in. But this is your opportunity. You've built out this list. These are people that were interested in your business before it even went live for investment opportunity. This is your opportunity to push that out. You don't need to worry too much about the 5 or 10 people that might unsubscribe to your emails. You want to keep pushing those. It's extremely important. And then the third one is webinars. I feel like if you have the opportunity to do that, it's a huge one to do. You can collect emails from doing webinars. It's your opportunity to be live, get live questions, be able to answer them live. You can follow up with people after the webinar is over, both on like a recording aspect or maybe questions that didn't get answered, or even questions that did get answered. And you can say, hey, I noticed you asked this question. Maybe we can jump on a call and learn some more. So different things like that from the content perspective. Those are my three key ones.
Love it. Love it. And I really like how you pointed out, don't worry about the folks who unsubscribe. You're not playing for them. They don't matter if they're not showing up on your campaign. Maybe a future campaign, you could exclude them from a list if you know exactly who they are. And it's like, hey, this is my friend's dad. I don't want to bother him. And he's, some big hedge fund owner. I believe communication's the access. It's how you speak to them. If you want to talk to them with a different drip or direct outreach, please do. But when we're talking about an email campaign, 20% as an open rate, 2% as a click-through rate, kind of round figures, but are looked at as email marketing averages. That means 80% of people aren't even going to open the email. If you get 2% of them to click through, you're doing well based on, marketing statistics. I was going through these numbers with a team member earlier. That means if you have 100,000 email drip list, and you get 2,000 people to your offering page, you're in a good place. Meanwhile, if you get a 2% conversion rate, from there, you're talking very small numbers. You're talking what, 40 investments maybe off an email list of 100,000 people. Sure, it can be substantially higher in terms of click-through rate. It could be substantially higher in terms of conversion rate. But at the same time, why am I worried about those other 98,000 people that don't click? Why am I worried about them if they if they're not going to invest? There's a way to speak to them so that the conversation progresses that I am going after. Maybe that's your audience list. Maybe you don't want to burn them out, but there's still a way to say things. There's still a way to demonstrate why you are capital raising, and hey, we're making this available to our constituents, to our clients, to our customers, to our B2B partners who have positioned our business to where it is today. This is your opportunity. Become shareholders alongside us. We'll talk at the investor update meetings. And, there's a way to address any concerns you have with the messaging. But Ashley, great points. And I know we've already talked about the funnel a bit, top of funnel. This is more of as you were saying, emails, social media posts, articles. So people have a funny thing around the word blog. These are articles. It's a key tactic for search engine optimization. The search engines work off the words, and the articles, based on which keywords you're putting in there, can have you compete for placements on these platforms and even position you as an authority in the space accordingly, especially if you get a high volume of social shares afterwards. I read for the Forbes Agency Council, if I don't get any shares, I'm going to get under 1,000 views. Even on Forbes, top domain authority category of sites. I've had other articles with over 100 shares, and there's websites you can go to where you can see everyone who's repurposed your link on social media platforms and their own websites. I'll get over 40,000 views on, something like that. And I think I've just entered base levels of, Forbes content writer levels, but you get the idea. It's the content marketing, it's peer-to-peer marketing, it's the social sharing that gets it where it needs to go. Content marketing, it's the definition for me. It's good, engaging content that's designed, it's created to stimulate social shares and high authority links from groups like Forbes or other publishers. Mid-funnel targeting content, as Nicky was saying, for those who are resonating and driving questions on the campaign page. You almost want to answer their questions with the content. What are they thinking at this point? Bottom of the funnel, and be educational. Don't be, hey, we're asking for money again. It can be off-putting. I like that word. I'm gonna use it again. Bottom of funnel, urgency content, closing webinars, final chance to ask questions. I like ads that are very clever. They break the third wall. Hey, we see you keep coming back to our site. Here's an educational piece. We want you to be well informed. It's like, oh, they know I've been there. They're using their ad space. They're using their message intelligently. That tells me a lot about the business. And regardless of what they're asking me to do, if it's a course, if it's to invest in something, a lot of investor campaigns, I'm going to pay more attention to it. Role of content marketing in nurturing potential investors. How do we address this? Why is it crucial to build and nurture a community?
So it's important, I mean, especially when you get to that bottom of the funnel, right? So again, just reiterating a little bit, bottom of the funnel is you have already hit them with tons of information, tons of touch points. They've shown a sense of interest. So you're not sitting there trying to nurture them anymore. They may have already invested, they may have already began the checkout. So we're not trying to really focus on that. What you want to make sure though is you're building content within that middle of the funnel point to nurture the audience so that they want to get to the bottom of the funnel. You don't want to just push out content that's just kind of like bland or just to say you're pushing out content. And again, circling back to the invest, invest, invest. People want to see good quality content, what's going on within the business. So making sure I always do like team highlights. Everybody that's on your team is on your team for a reason. They probably have some sense of a great background. Doing some highlights about who exactly is behind the scenes in your business. It doesn't always have to be so focused on the CEO or the COO, highlight some other team members, showcase their experience and really build up your business and your brand. So those types of content pieces are extremely important to just build the community, nurture them, and then get them to the bottom of the funnel where we want them to be.
Point of the whole webinar. How do we get them to convert?
Sorry, Jason, but I just want to add a couple points
Please.
here. Yeah, the organic content is cost effective and can lead to more effective paid advertising. I think that is very important to understand. Some people don't like ads at all. Like they don't look at ads. They might have ad block. But those who don't see your ad, it's important for them for your ad to really pop because they're seeing hundreds of ads every day. People scroll through Facebook, they scroll through TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all that. There's ads everywhere. So you need to make your ads stand out. And one way to do that is to have engaging organic content. Maybe they see your organic content somewhere and they saw something funny and they're like, oh yes, I've seen these guys before. They're funny. Let me check out what they're doing, right? That's important, right? That's what makes you stand out. Your organic content is also important. It drives those additional touch points. keeps people engaged. I think engagement is key to any equity crowdfunding campaign and really important to keeping them in the funnel.
I think the stat we used in a past webinar is 6x. A good content marketing funnel produces a 6 times higher return from advertising spends over the course of the campaign. We've asked questions like why content marketing, and that's directly why. When we work with clients, it's not important to us whether they're doing the content marketing or we're doing the content marketing, and we could still advise, we could still collaborate on it either way. Just the fact that it's being done at least allows me to assume we're going to get a higher conversion rate. We're going to get a higher level of response. We're going to take that investor interest into conversion to a greater degree. What's going on this page?
So this is your like opportunity and a very important one to talk about industry stats. So highlighting some like key huge numbers, I feel like is very undervalued. Like I'm in a booming $50 million industry. Use numbers like that if you're in a big industry like that to showcase like this is something that people have interest in. They're obviously making purchases within this industry. They're, whatever they're doing there. So you want to get in on this $50 million industry. You want to get in on this opportunity. So highlighting like market opportunity stats like that, I feel like is extremely important. And again, this is another opportunity to do webinars around that. People can ask questions about the market opportunity. What hole are you filling within the industry yourself? Why is this a problem, and what is the solution that you're kind of aiming to solve, and the opportunity ahead for me as an investor?
Unlimited measures of numbers. I was watching a copywriting course this morning, as I was mentioning, and they said good copy. You want to be able to paint a picture of something visible. What can they envision, like actually see in their head? You want it to be indisputable. Use different word, but hey, this is fact, and you want to be unique. Are you the only one who could say that? And I think numbers are a great way to do that across the board. Again, you could picture the number. It's the only way to measure, and you can't falsify it. And are you the only one who can say it? If it's an industry stat, maybe it's your own angle towards it. But at the same time, we've seen higher click-through rates, higher responses, the actual analytics, the actual numbers at higher levels by including that in there. Great point, Ashley. Communication and automation. Investors want to be spoken to. Automation allows you to do that in a very consistent type of basis. We often show these closing stats, and basically most sales occur somewhere between the 5th and 12th touch point. This is referring to business development. I look at marketing as sales on a mass level. Meanwhile, most sales reps don't follow up more than once. And you could look at the numbers of how many actually follow up twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. I think it's 10% follow up more than 5 times. I think it's a lack of creativity, meaning you do get bored of saying the same thing all the time. There's a fatigue on the other side that you could feel. But if you're talking about new, exciting things, look at what's going on in the industry. As Ashley mentioned, have we told you about our team and how great they are? And here's a bio on them. Here's something cool they're doing this week. Look at this conference we're speaking at. Look at this podcast we're a guest on. Check out this new partnership we put together. We got this great customer client testimonial. Check this out. Look at our investor breakdown. So being able to follow up with that content, which we just went over in the last section, but applying some automation so that hey, every Tuesday they're getting an email. LinkedIn, every 3 days they're getting a follow-up message. Every week they're getting some type of note back. Advertising, hey, we're changing it up. There's, Nikki's behind the wheel there, but at the same time, we know there's something new being entered into the communication on an ongoing basis. I think that's the difference from the top sales reps, the ones that seem to always hit their goal. the top service people, the top waiters. There's always one that just, they hit the levels they're looking for every night. The top broker dealers, it's how they're able to speak to that story. So, how are we setting up automation? How can everyone tuned in today or watching us, in a recording, how can they apply this to their model?
Yeah, I think Facebook lead formats are a great way to generate leads and build on email lists, especially for brands who are just starting out, who don't have a community just yet. This is a great way to reach out to people and get people interested in your brand and, sign up for an email, right? A lot of times, if you're a new brand, you don't really have a community, don't have that social proof. uh, People don't want to necessarily invest that quickly. They might want to follow the campaign. They might, put in their email and sign up for emails to stay updated. But this is a great tool to use to build out that community. We use Facebook ads, and then we use a tool like Zapier to zap leads into your email server. Um, Lead formats work. If you wanted to make a separate landing page to collect leads, that also works as well. But yeah, I think this is a very important automation and process that you should be utilizing for your campaign to build out new leads, new audiences, especially if you don't have an existing audience base already.
Ads aren't converting to the offering page. That means we're not getting that investor interest to actual capital. If we take them down a funnel where there's a Facebook lead, an autofill form, meaning I get to a form, it already has my name, email address, phone number. I don't need to use my fat fingers and mess up the letters and give up. Fat finger syndrome's a thing in the advertising community. Didn't make up the term myself. And then now I'm receiving emails. I could still go to the offering page. There'll be a button that I could click that'll take me there afterwards. Meanwhile, we've worked on campaigns that showed little to no performance driving the traffic to the offering page. But by setting this up and then having the automations and then talking about their next webinar, their next article, the next appearance, we get actual conversions and we're able to do that longer conversation, that developing relationship to get them there. Ashley, what do those emails look like?
So the emails go out into a drip funnel sequence. So similar to what the last slide said, you want to kind of do some sense of an automation. So people are just put into the drip funnel as soon as they sign up. So email one is very much a welcome email. So people have shown interest in the ad on the lead form ad, but they want more information. But again, you're not wanting to hit them with invest, invest, invest. So just like, hey, thanks for, wanting to get more information. Here's some brief little bits of information about, what we do, maybe some slight touch on the investment opportunity, but you definitely don't want to overwhelm people on this first email around that. So then after that, I always do a 7-day sequence. I feel like anything more, you kind of start to lose people's interest a little bit and they kind of are like feeling a little overwhelmed, especially when they're at that top of the funnel and they're new to your campaign. So I do it in a 7-day sequence. So after that, 7 days, email number 2 goes out. I always typically do a top reasons to invest. They already have the welcome email. They know more information about you. And now why is it that they want to continue to get more information? Why do they want to visit the campaign page? So highlighting those top reasons to invest. These definitely can be some sense of partnerships. They can be, some new product launches, some big things coming within the business. They can honestly even be like features for certain businesses that can be like, hey, we were featured in Forbes, we were featured in who knows, different publications. So highlighting those top reasons to invest there. Email 3, this I kind of do, just kind of depends on you overall. So again, problem and solution. What's the problem? What's the solution you're aiming to solve? And in here, I either sometimes incorporate the team as well. There's a lot of people within their industries that have very successful backgrounds and a lot of information that just really highlights and boosts them up overall. So it's important to just kind of highlight those members too. And then number 4 is the wrap up email. So here's where you really want to kind of hone in. That's your final opportunity. At this point, this has now been 4 weeks over this period for the automations that you've been hitting them with targeted emails and trying to get them to go over to the campaign page. this is your idea to summarize everything, all the information at once. And then honestly, for the wrap up email, maybe even include some like couple of things that have gone in there, for the last like week or so. Hey, this is a quick update of what's been going on. Visit our campaign page and get to learn more. Kind of direct them to, hey, if you have more questions, I always like to say, visit the campaign page and drop your questions in the discussion section. You could even try to set up a call in this wrap up email too, try to get people on a call like one-on-one, do a 30-minute, 15-minute quick call. But that's your last opportunity to try to get them to convert.
So much different than, hey, we sent out an email, or we're trying to figure out a follow-up each week. Designing the actual drip, the actual sequence, the experience, the journey that they're going to go through. Now, how do you tailor your content and ads for different audiences? Nikki, what are you doing on the ad side?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this earlier. The pixel, you're tracking all these different types of events, and each event, represents what the potential investor has done so far. There's add to cart, which is equivalent to someone who's clicked on invest now, initiate checkout, or those who have clicked on invest now and submitted some information, started the investment process, but haven't necessarily invested yet. So, as you understand, each type of investor, or each type of, I guess, each part of the funnel they're in, requires different type of ads, right? So we want to make uh, different types of ads for each person in that funnel, or each group, right? So, for example, you don't want a cold prospecting ad to show to someone because they're very deep into the funnel, right? Cold prospecting is very general. It talks about the brand, right? People already know that if they're ready to invest, they probably know a lot about the brand already because they're putting in the investment, right? People who are in mid funnel to lower mid funnel want to see ads that talk about milestones, any social proof. People love to see investor testimonials, right? Why are your top investors investing? How much did they invest, right? Those are important. People love to, see ads about patents, any new partnerships. Those are all great ads to show, and they show a lot of social proof. And social proof is what really drives a lot of equity crowdfunding campaigns. It's what gets people that final push to invest. Of course, communication frequency is important. We don't want to show that same ad over and over again. We don't want to continue to push, invest every single day, right? We want to have engaging content and make sure the frequency isn't too high on some of these ads. The best we want to keep it about is usually about 3 to 5 at most. And that means, people seeing the ads 3 to 5 times on a weekly timeline. So we don't want to spam people. We want to keep it efficient. We don't want to show a cold prospecting ad to someone who's mid funnel. We want to spend that budget in a smart way.
Actually, I'll give you the honors. What's happening on this meme here?
Let's see.
As a social media enthusiast, I would feel wrong doing the narrative here.
I mean, I love these memes. I don't even know how you describe it, but I've seen these memes like all over with the person like looking like, what the heck? But it's just your business with social proof. Like you're ahead of the game and your competitor is like, what the heck? Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, from this perspective, but it's funny. It's just a funny meme. It just
It's
basically have to have that sense of social proof. Like you having social proof, you're like, look at me.
I see a guy walking with his girlfriend and looking at another girl. In this scenario, it's your business and with social proof and your competitor. Now we're using the word consumers. Consumers, investor, users are a top demographic for Reg CF and Regulation A plus campaigns. But it does not need to be, and B2B, it could be end consumers. There's a lot of ways to set this up for people who follow the vertical. These are investors. The jealous girlfriend in this meme is these are other issuers, as Nikki said. They're getting hit with advertising, articles, content from other investors, and you could stand out with higher authoritative third-party validation. So didn't mean to hop in too much on the page, Ashley. When we say third-party validation, what have you seen work the best?
So one that's actually listed here, investor testimonials is of course a huge one. If you can get investor testimonials, that's going to be an amazing sense of third-party validation, but sometimes that's not always the case for everybody. So one that I feel like is pretty underutilized actually is the milestones. So those can be used across all, content channels, but also as an ad. So not only milestones like, hey, this is how much has been invested in the campaign, but this is how many investors we also have in the campaign too. So we have 150 plus investors. You want to join this community of 150 plus investors. That still sends some sense of validation without having to kind of like be in some top publication or have some huge testimonial or something like that. Those are just numbers that showcase the interest that you have in the campaign overall. And you really want to highlight that there. Give that sense of like FOMO, like, oh gosh, especially when you're in that like middle of the funnel and then maybe even at the bottom of the funnel when they're kind of like thinking about checking out of the campaign. You want to like, hey, there's this amount of investors. We've raised $500,000. We've raised $1 million. Like you want to be a part of this or you're going to be missing out.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
To add on to that, people generally don't like to be the first ones to invest in a campaign, but they're more than happy to ride a wave, right? If we've raised 500,000, you have like, 500 investors, that's a great way to tell people, hey, the campaign has momentum. We're moving along with or without you. So come invest before it's too late. And that FOMO works extremely well during the closing phase of the campaign where there's, final opportunity to invest. People are really reinvesting. That's where we see the most momentum and the most investors come in because we're driving that FOMO.
Now, social media. I've had founders tell me, hey, we have a logistics company. Why do we need to use social media? We don't need Facebook likes. We don't need to reach Gen Z on TikTok. What are you talking about when we're saying social media? You want to run some ads there? I don't know. I think our audience is on LinkedIn, even though it's a social media platform. Best practices is harnessing social media platforms for content and for outreach. So, regular posting about the campaign and investment opportunity, sharing updates and milestones, using social media to drive traffic to the campaign page, perhaps from organic content, especially if it's being shared. I don't want to say going viral, but seeing a high volume of social shares. Viral is a special word. And then encouraging sharing and engagement to expand the reach organically. Peer-to-peer marketing is the ultimate form of marketing as a whole. And these social platforms, they show up at the top of search engine results quite a bit. If I'm going to invest in a company, I'm going to do some due diligence. Do not underestimate retail investors. They want to search around. And if they see nothing about your company, it says something. If they get to your social pages, but you're connected at your site or on your offering page, or realize you have no social pages, you are a ghost. Why would they invest in you over one of the top issuers? There's great issuers out there that have very engaged, very large communities on these social platforms, and they're putting out authoritative thought leadership content on a daily basis. That says something. So is your valuation justified? Looking at the content, looking at what's showing up on social, maybe the easiest place for a prospective investor to do their due diligence. Again, most of them won't invest. If you're getting a 2% conversion rate, you're in a good place. Google says an average conversion rate is 2.35%. You're gonna need a whole lot of traffic. If you're looking at $1,000 average investment on a Reg CF campaign, hey, you're going to need 50,000 visitors per $1 million raised. If you're at a $3,000 average investment across 1,000 investors, 3,000 is a good level. It's still only 3 million off 50,000 visitors. How do you get your campaign to a 4% conversion rate? 2% difference at the same time, 100% different results. Nicky's going to see twice the level of return on ad spend. That could be to the difference of a 10x and a 20x return on ad spend. So make sure you're using the social media platforms. Do outreach on LinkedIn. Do outreach on other platforms to larger prospects, larger targets, larger strategic partners, and then getting into webinars, getting into live events, presentations like this. Ashley, what do you see working best? How can this help get interested parties to convert?
So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the start of this webinar, I love webinars. I feel like they are a very underutilized touch point. So, for webinars, I always say do many promos for both the content side and the ad side. So, typically, what I suggest is doing like a 2 week, 1 week, a 3 day, and a 1 day. These are all like senses of reminders. And then normally like the 2 week mark, you're not going to see a ton of people sign up. It's still a little bit too early, but you'll get some people. That 1 week mark is when people really start to trickle in, all of that type of stuff. So really utilizing those promos. Don't just throw one out there and say like, hey, we have a webinar coming up and then expect everybody to join. You want to have a couple different touch points there on the content side. And then from there, making sure that the webinar is recorded so that way you can repurpose that recording and put it up for people that might not have been able to attend last minute. Maybe there were people that forgot to register and then they want that recording. I have actually seen many times that people come in as an investor based off of the recording itself because they're able to kind of pause throughout the webinar, kind of think on some questions they might want to ask. Maybe they go to the campaign page and ask those questions in the discussion section. It just allows them that ability to kind of go at their leisure and kind of take in the information at their leisure too. So make sure you're recording that, making sure you're pushing that out. And then, of course, also making sure that you're gathering that email list and then pushing out not only just the recap of the webinar to everyone that registered to attend, but any other content that you have. Those are basically not free, but almost free emails that you're getting. You're building your email list and you want to make sure you're still hitting those people. They registered to attend that webinar for a reason, so you don't want to let them fall off.
And what's the optimal balance, Nikki? Persistence, and respecting those investor, timelines.
Yeah, this ties into what we've been talking about earlier. Avoid over pushing, it's Jason's favorite word, off-putting, to consistently or push too often on advertising, organic or emails, whatever it is. The the optimal balance, I would say, is probably around 3 to 5 touch points a week. And that includes organic and emails and paid social. We really don't want to be doing too much more than that. The investor journey we've seen takes about 7 to 17 touch points. So given, 3 to 5 touch points a week, we're probably looking about 3 weeks, maybe a month, for an investor to convert, and that's very normal. Makes sense, right? So stay consistent, but don't overdo it.
Stay consistent. Don't overdo it. Great recommendations. I'm going to go back to the deck here for a second. I'm actually going to hop to Sky Corey, one of our issuers' webinars. Nikki and Ashley are going to take over and talk about overcoming challenges and optimizing performance, and really take it from here. So, pleasure sharing with everybody. That's going to be it for me. Ashley, if you want to pick it up from here.
All right, let me jump into it. All right, awesome. So, Nikki, you kind of touched on this already in regards to common pitfalls and things to avoid, but just to kind of reiterate a little bit of what Nikki said as well, just making sure that you're not over pushing that investment opportunity. Again, you want to make sure that the content still has some sense of relevance about what's going on. People want to see and learn about your business overall too. Of course, they're there because they're interested in the investment opportunity, but they're also interested in your business and what you have to offer. So just making sure that you're giving that relevant and important content that people want to see as an investor, and just honestly as a basic everyday consumer that might end up turning into an investor and get some sense of interest from there.
Yeah,
Nikki,
to quickly add on to that, yeah, was that actually?
is there anything to add?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So constantly asking for every investment, every communication, that's a key thing that I want to emphasize again. You cannot ask for an investment every single communication. It sounds like you're begging for money at that point if you're asking for investments every single time, right? You want to be engaging. Some content doesn't even have to really ask for anything. It's just can just be funny. It can just make people laugh, right? And when you make people laugh, you build affinity with them. It's like you're building a friendship, and then you're kindly asking, hey, like, check us out, right? So make sure you're building that connection with them, a personal connection. Your potential investors aren't your piggy bank, right? You can't just ask for money and take money out of them. Most people don't like that. So make sure you're building that connection with them through funny ads, engaging ads, even organic or emails. Keeping it content and ads fresh and engaging, and make sure we're getting those touch points in.
And then measuring and optimizing your investor nurturing efforts. So, Nikki, I'll let you start with this one because I feel like this is extremely important when it comes to the ad side.
Yeah, ad engagement rates. We want people to look at your ads, to comment, share even. Sharing is great because it's a great way to spread your ad for free, right? One person sees your ad, they share it, you know, 10 of their friends see it. That's essentially 11 impressions for the price of one. So we want people to engage, share. There's a lot of metrics we can track, 3-second views, 10-second views on Facebook. There's like, I don't know, 10%, 90% views, 50%. All those are important. And even you can even take some of these audiences and create look-like audiences, right? Because they're all tracked by Facebook. You can even make look-like audiences off these segments and use them as additional pieces of targeting and audiences for ads, and try to target some of these people with your organic and even email marketing.
Yeah, and then going into organic. So this kind of goes into making sure that you're not just throwing out content just to throw it out there. So checking like email open rates, for example, and click-through rates. So making sure you're kind of tracking obviously the content that's in there and what exactly you're speaking about, but just headlines. Attracted somebody to open a message? You can utilize too a lot of the data that came from ads. Maybe you haven't sent an email about some certain topic that you did an ad around and it's really performing well, and then kind of convert that into an email and put that through, send that out to everybody, see what the click-through rates are, and then kind of work from there. So all of this data is important to build off of. You don't want to just keep pushing content if your open rate is at like, you're only getting maybe 2 clicks on the email and maybe a 5% open rate. You obviously, that's not performing really well. People aren't really interested in the headline that they're seeing. They're not opening it because they're not interested in the content idea. So you want to make sure everything's engaging from there. Same thing with social media. I feel like that's important to make sure that you have a good basis and you're kind of working off of what you already have on your social media. Your followers on your social media channels follow you for a reason prior to the campaign page and prior to the investment opportunity. So you don't want to push too much on there. You want to make sure that the content's relevant, something that they're interested in. I also say though, when it comes to social media engagement, I feel like you don't have to hone in too much on this if people aren't liking or sharing. Of course, you want them to like and share, but this is just, again, another touch point. Your goal isn't to build a following here. It's to just utilize your social media channels as a touch point for your already pre-built audience, hoping that they'll visit the campaign page and then convert. And then effective strategies for a campaign close. So I'll start with this one, urgency content and maintaining investor interest. So this kind of plays into, again, the invest. So urgency content you really want to do. It's extremely underutilized in a lot of campaigns. Now, what urgency content means is you are for sure going to close your campaign. There's no possible chances of extending. And you do want to make sure that you're not pushing any sense of urgency content if you do have a potential chance to extend your campaign further. So when you know for a fact the campaign's coming to a close, you start to push out that urgency content messaging and the ads as well. So what that means is you are pushing out to people that you've already built that audience for throughout this entirety, saying, hey, there's 1 month left to invest. There's 2 weeks left to invest. There's 1 week left to invest. You start to break it down. And again, it kind of plays into that sense of FOMO. So these people have gone to the campaign page. They've got all the information they need to make an investment at this point, and you're wanting to really hone in on that FOMO. But you also do want to balance it with some sense of interest. So you're not just pushing like, hey, invest, invest, invest. Why do they want to invest in the campaign? You kind of, at this point of the stage for urgency content, I normally build in some content about like top reasons to invest again, a little bit of key pieces that we talked about maybe at the beginning of the campaign that really got some people to kind of come in, talk about those, and then build in the urgency content around there. And then Nikki, from the ad side, how does this play in?
Yeah, so essentially, bottom funnel, these are people who have invested, but we want to continue to run ads to some of these people, keep them engaged. Again, I keep saying that, but I cannot emphasize enough. Keep these people engaged. They will invest again in, at the later stages of the campaign. We're almost out of time here, so I want to quickly run through this next slide as well.
Yes.
So let's move to the next slide. So the next slide is essentially the advertising closing strategy. Focus on that retargeting pool. For your campaign, you've built out this, you've done a lot of cold prospecting, you built out a solid retargeting pool. How do you utilize this during the end of the campaign? Right? So essentially, this is your warm audience. These are people who are most likely to invest at the end of the campaign if they haven't already invested yet. So we want to start allocating more budget to reach these people again, really build that FOMO and say, hey, we're closing in a week, 5 days, 3 days, right? Whatever it is, spend more budget up to 50% in the final week, and then continue to allocate more in the last few days of the campaign. Ideally, most situations, you should be spending about like 80 to 100% of your budget on retargeting, just to get those final investments in from those retargeting pool, and run urgency as to emphasize their last opportunity to invest. Basically, closing strategy is all about FOMO, 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 and hitting that retargeting pool. Well, so I know we have a couple more slides here, but we are out of time. So we can. Do you want to quickly run through these, Ashley? And then we can.
Honestly, the content one I talked about the promos, the 5 day, 3 day, 1 day. So that kind of has already been touched on, making sure you're implementing those. Common concerns we also essentially address, just making sure you're not pushing too much in the sense of like urgency messaging, so incorporating some sense of what's going on within the campaign overall. And that concludes everything. Nikki, anything to add? Any final thoughts before we close?
No, I think we've gone through everything. I think this was great. There's, a lot of things that come into play when it comes to active crowdfunding campaign, but one thing that I want to emphasize again is to keep people engaged through multiple touch points, through ads, organic emails. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Ashley, or Jason. We're all on LinkedIn. You can shoot an email to us. But yeah, anything else, Ashley?
I think that's all. Thanks so much for attending, everybody, today. Thanks, Nikki, for joining with us, and we'll see you guys later.
Of course. All right, take care, guys.